Ethan believed one thing very strongly: I must handle everything on my own. He learned this belief early in life. When he was a child, his parents were loving but busy. They worked hard to provide for the family, and Ethan didn't want to become a burden. When he struggled with schoolwork, he stayed quiet. When he felt sad, he smiled. When life felt heavy, he carried it alone. People praised him for being strong and independent, and slowly that praise turned into a prison. As Ethan grew older, his fear of asking for help grew with him. He believed that needing help meant weakness. He believed that strong people never ask, never complain, never fall, so he trained himself to endure everything in silence. In college, Ethan struggled with certain subjects. He stayed up late, studying alone, while others studied together. When group projects were assigned, he did most of the work himself. He told himself it was easier that way, but inside he felt exhausted. After college, Ethan got a job at a growing company. At first, things went well. He worked hard, stayed late, and took on extra responsibilities. His manager admired his dedication. "You're reliable," she said. "I can count on you." Those words made Ethan proud, but they also made him afraid, because now asking for help felt even more dangerous. What if they stopped seeing him as strong? What if they thought he couldn't handle the work? So when tasks became overwhelming, Ethan said nothing. He skipped lunch to finish deadlines. He worked late into the night. He answered emails even on weekends, and slowly, something inside him began to break. Ethan started feeling tired all the time. His sleep became restless. His mind felt heavy. Simple problems felt impossible. Still, he said nothing. One evening, after another long day, Ethan sat alone in his apartment. The room was quiet, but his thoughts were loud. "I should be able to handle this," he told himself. "Others have it harder," but his chest felt tight. His hands trembled slightly. For the first time, Ethan wondered, what if I can't do this alone anymore? The thought scared him more than the work itself. A few days later, something went wrong at the office. A project Ethan had been managing alone missed an important detail. The client was unhappy. Ethan stood in the meeting room, listening as the problem was discussed. His heart pounded. He felt responsible, ashamed. After the meeting, his manager called him into her office. "Why didn't you ask for support?" she asked gently. Ethan looked down. He had no answer. "I didn't want to bother anyone," he finally said. "I thought I could handle it." His manager sighed, not in anger, but in concern. "Ethan," she said, "asking for help is not failure. It's teamwork." Those words stayed with him, but fear still whispered louder. That weekend, Ethan decided to visit his grandfather, Henry, who lived in a quiet town outside the city. Henry was a calm man, with gentle eyes and a slow way of speaking. He had lived a long life and carried wisdom in his silence. They sat on the porch as the sun began to set. "You look tired," Henry said. Ethan smiled weakly. "Just work." Henry nodded. "Work can tire the body, but silence tires the soul." Ethan looked at him, surprised. Henry continued, "You've always carried things alone." "Why?" Ethan hesitated. Then, for the first time in many years, he spoke honestly. "I'm afraid," Ethan said. "If I ask for help, people will think I'm weak." Henry was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Let me tell you a story. When I was young," Henry began, "I believed the same thing. I worked on a farm. One day I tried to lift a heavy sack alone. I strained my back badly. Why didn't you ask for help? Ethan asked. Henry smiled. Because I wanted to prove I was strong, and were you? Ethan asked softly. Henry looked at his hands. No, I was stubborn. Henry leaned closer. True strength, he said, is knowing your limits and respecting them. Weakness is pretending you don't have any. Those words reached a place in Ethan's heart he had long ignored. That night, Ethan slept deeply for the first time in weeks. When he returned to work on Monday, fear was still there, but something had shifted. During a team meeting, Ethan felt overwhelmed again. His heart raced. His old habit told him to stay silent, but Henry's words echoed in his mind. True. Strength is knowing your limits. Ethan took a breath. I need help with this part, he said quietly. The room was silent for a second. Then someone said, Sure, I can help. Another added, I've worked on something similar. No one judged him. No one looked down on him. Instead, they worked together. Ethan felt something new, relief. Days turned into weeks. Asking for help didn't become easy overnight, but it became possible. Ethan learned that sharing work didn't make him weaker. It made the results better. It made relationships stronger. More importantly, it made him feel human again. One evening, a colleague named Sarah noticed the change. You seem lighter, she said. Ethan smiled. I stopped carrying everything alone. That night, Ethan reflected on his journey. He realized something important. The fear of asking for help wasn't about others, it was about how he judged himself. Believed he had to earn his worth by suffering silently, but worth was never meant to be earned that way. Life continued to bring challenges. Some days were still hard. Some fears still returned. But now Ethan had a choice, and each time he chose to ask for help, the fear lost a little of its power. Months later, Ethan visited his grandfather again. I asked for help, Ethan said, smiling. Henry laughed softly, and the world didn't end. Ethan laughed too. No, he said. It became easier. Henry placed a hand on his shoulder. Remember this, he said. No one builds a life alone. We build it together. As Ethan drove home, he felt grateful, not just for support, but for the courage to accept it. He finally understood. Asking for help is not weakness. It is honesty. It is courage. It is connection. And sometimes the bravest thing you can say is, I need help. That was the day Ethan truly overcame the fear of asking for help and began living with strength that was real, not silent.